All right, we need to have a serious discussion about Marcus Freeman. And I don't like having this discussion because I like Marcus Freeman. I think he's incredibly good looking. Nobody fills out a quarter zip like him. And I actually would love to see him be successful as the Notre Dame head coach. He seems like a good dude. He's very engaging, very interesting when we interview him. But that said, that Northern Illinois loss makes me wonder if he learned anything from Marshall a couple of years ago, from Stanford, from 10 guys on the field against Ohio State. Like, where is the growth here for Marcus Freeman? Because he talked after the game about looking at what was lacking in their preparation. If you don't know how to prepare after a big win by now, what are we even doing here?
Yeah. We're going to start using the acronym GFTS, which is good for the sport. I think it would be GFTS if he was successful there. I'm with you on that. I'm pausing like that because I am still kind of speechless, because it doesn't just mean, well, I don't know how to prepare after a game. The real question is, the team that I thought was going to go undefeated this year and we were on freezing cold takes because of.
Yeah, we earned that.
It's not just, oh, they had a weird week of preparation. How could your team be fractured enough to lose that game? Like, I think that this is an overarching issue of what is wrong there.
Right. We watched you against Texas A&M, against a bunch of future NFL players in one of the most hostile environments in America, take over the game in the second half, blowing open holes in the run game. Why can't you just do that to Northern Illinois? Like, at a certain point, and I realize this happens, and there's probably more complicated explanations, but at what point do you just say, all right, boys, time to out-athlete these dudes?
Let's just go, you could play the Kirby Smart speech for him.
Yes.
The
Notre Dame fans don't know about the Kirby Smart speech. The Florida fans do. But basically, there are a couple leaked Kirby Smart speeches before the game. You should listen to those. And if you don't think you have a coach that does that, you probably need a new coach.
So I specifically, but we got over our skis a little bit with Notre Dame, because the truth is there's a lot to like about this team.
Absolutely.
Roster-wise, managed-wise, I think Marcus Freeman, as you're evaluating him, we did a Florida video. I think that you could say that Marcus Freeman has been a better architect of the Notre Dame program than Billy Napier has,
of course,
by a long shot.
And the way he's recruited, like the things you guys didn't like about Brian Kelly, you like about him.
Right.
Which is why you want it to work.
So it seems like it should work. And he's doing things from a talent retention and addition to make them feel like they're going to work. So the question is, why are they not working? And that is a very frustrating question. And I think I learned a valuable lesson, that is, if a coach has never shown in their head coaching tenure, and this might sound unfair to Marcus, who's only been a head coach for a few years, that they're able to win their clunkers, or that they're able to win all of the games they're supposed to, I feel like that probably is the first talent that you need as a head coach before you skip that part and go, they're advancing to the semis of the playoff.
Right.
Because they don't win all of the games that they're supposed to. They were supposed to win against NIU this year. They were supposed to beat Marshall. I think that was last year.
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago. And when was Stanford?
Louisville last year. They got smoked against Louisville. And I realized they'd played, that was their third consecutive primetime game. It was their second consecutive road game. The game against Duke had been hard. I don't care. You're freaking Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like, that shouldn't ever happen to you. And that's the part that with this roster, because they are more talented than they were when Brian Kelly was taking them to playoff berths.
And more veteran than they've been in a long time, especially in the secondary and on crucial parts of their defense. Like, they've got guys that make like, we don't just pull crap out of the sky. Like, I think that's what people think. Like, oh, Freezing Cold Takes posts us, and thank you, by the way, we love the views, that we were wrong about that. But the thing that I want you guys to understand, and anybody who listens to our show to understand, is our analysis isn't just like throwing stuff against the wall and trying to prediction
it's Notre
is
Dame. They're famous.
Yeah, it's based in analysis of what the roster is, where they are, the quarterback, the secondary. Like, we're looking at it, the schedule, like, all of the things are built. It's not right, obviously, but if you have a team that you and I could be fooled into thinking is going undefeated, that means your coach is doing something right in the assembly of your program.
Yes.
So the frustrating part about it is, it's like you're making a recipe in the kitchen and you have all the ingredients and you think you do everything right. You pull the cake out of the oven and it sucks.
Well,
and you just don't know why.
Here's a good example. Dan Lanning at Oregon, Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, two guys who took over programs that were in good places because the previous person had done a good job. And then their mandate was raise them to another level. Well, I think we could argue that Dan Lanning has done a good job, but not a great job, because like 2 losses to Washington last year when Oregon was maybe the more talented team. But look at last night. Oregon is in a dogfight with Boise State. Boise State is playing really well. Ashton Genty is basically unstoppable. But Oregon didn't lose. They figured it out. And that's the difference right now between those two coaches. Neither has gotten them ultimately where they want to go. But you feel a little more faith in Dan Lanning because he can win the ones he's supposed to win, and Marcus Freeman hasn't figured out how to win the ones he's supposed to win.
Yeah. All right, and if you want to be really truthful about some of the shortcomings that Notre Dame has had, these games that they've lost were against teams that I think you might put in the bad category.
Right.
So that's
Boise State is better than Northern Illinois.
Yeah. So that's what makes this even more frustrating, is that if you simulate that game a million times, NIU probably shouldn't win very often.
Right.
So, like less than 1% of the time.
Right. How did you let that happen?
And if you start thinking about it in just odds perspective, if you think about the Marshall loss and you think about the Stanford loss, the probability of all 3 of those happening in a 3 or 4 year period is pretty astronomical, which makes you question what's causing this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the answer is just, well, we didn't prepare hard enough or we didn't focus enough after a big win. I don't know. But even really, really good teams, the types of teams that we've been comparing Notre Dame to, never lose games like this.
And here's the thing. You can say that Marcus Freeman is young as a head coach, that he's inexperienced as a head coach. That's fine. But unfortunately, that's not allowed to be an excuse when you're the Notre Dame head coach. You're allowed to have that as an excuse if you're the Minnesota head coach, if you are the Arkansas head coach, if you're the NC State head coach. You don't get to make that excuse as the Notre Dame head coach. Like, you just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so, Marcus Freeman, everybody likes you. Everybody's rooting for you. You got to figure this out. You should win every game on the schedule except maybe USC.
And it's a perfect case study too, Andy, of how quickly sentiment can change about somebody.
Yes.
Because earlier in the week, Marcus Freeman was the apple of Notre Dame's eye.
Yeah.
Everything was going perfectly. They were on track to having a breakout year. This is the year he was going to learn from everything. Like all the stuff, the Texas A&M physicality of that win.
Yes.
If you added up all the things to feel good about for Notre Dame going into this weekend, that list would be pretty high. And now you come into this week feeling pretty defeated about the process of the coach. And that is a really tough 180 to take in such a short amount of time.
That's our fault for pumping him up that way after the ANA. That is our fault. He didn't ask anybody to do that.
But I think Notre Dame fans, and I'm speaking with you guys here,
Yeah.
came into this season anticipating that they would be a one-loss team or an undefeated team and in the playoff as the 5 seed.
Right.
So I don't think we made that up. I think that sentiment was very high coming into the season.
Yeah.
So, you know, and now instead of feeling really good about the second half of the schedule, now this year for Notre Dame is about, can they get back on track and what does this mean for our program and is there a problem within it? And that's a scary proposition.
You got to figure it out, because if another one of these this year, or God forbid another 2 of these this year, we're having a very different conversation. Because right now it's everybody's rooting for you. Everybody wants you to figure it out. You have another one of these, all those people who are rooting for you aren't going to be rooting for you anymore. They're about figuring out how to pay your buyout. So it's time to figure it out right now. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.